All right, we are live. Hi, Todd. How are you?
Good. How about you, Brandi?
Good. It's been a long time.
I
Good to
know.
see you again. You know, we're
It,
quarantining. Everyone's quarantining. We should be seeing each other more, you know?
that's true. Yeah, I know. It's we had that academy at the beginning of the year when this thing was all first getting fired up, and
Right.
seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Gosh, it's like the days are, it's really like a twilight zone because, it seems like it's going by so slow, but yet so fast.
I
If that
know.
makes any sense at all.
No, it does. Yeah, it's man, 2020, September of 2020. It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. So we last week we got on Facebook live together. It was for our May Academy. Went really well. We had a wonderful attendance. We're gonna have an amazing academy September 16th through 17th and 18th. We're only doing 3 days this time because we realized how exhausting it was for people to join in for 5 full days. So we have two streaming rooms back to back. One room is specific to operations and accounting, and the other room is specific to marketing and sales. So, and then we'll be seeing you in between all of that, and that's going to be great. It's going to be exciting,
Yeah,
and we hope
last one
to.
was really good. Last one
Yeah,
was really good. Looking forward to it. Being able to do it from your pajamas though makes it a little easier.
yeah. Well, not for us,
Pajama bottoms, at least.
I'm standing up out there, so
Yeah, not for you. For everyone else, though.
pajamas. But yeah, that's definitely a plus. Absolutely. So Todd, you are with AutoElevate. You used to have your own MSP, sold your MSP, you found a problem within the industry, and now you have AutoElevate. Let's talk about a little bit about AutoElevate for the viewers who don't know about you yet, and so that they can get familiar.
Okay. I guess that's where I was supposed to say. Yeah, so what AutoElevate does, it'd be considered a privilege management, privilege access management tool, or what would be called a PAM. And what it does in a nutshell is it allows you to dial in privileges so that they aren't all or nothing. So the Windows operating system allows you to have either standard privileges or admin privileges. On the one hand, admin privileges lets the user do anything. And on the other end of the spectrum, with standard privileges, it's much more secure and has a lot of security benefits. However, it also then creates a lot of service tickets because then users need to, interact with the technicians to have different things done. It also causes them to, be upset and cry because they're, legitimately inconvenienced. It's not always, to be empathetic. It is many times completely frustrating and legitimate gripe that they're stifled and have to stop to do something simple that now they have to call someone else for help on that they could probably do themselves. So what AutoElevate does is it allows you to allow certain things to run with privileges and still keep it locked down to standard privileges for everything else. So it helps you to be more granular about the application of privileges for your users. And of course, that automates a lot of things for your technicians, so it makes it more convenient, can reduce your ticket count. There's some other things that we do as well that, kind of play into the overall, kind of workflow of the managed service providers, just coming from my background. But that in a nutshell is what it does, is helps dial in the privileges, so make your clients more secure, make you more secure. The user experience will be better because the customers are happier with not having to call you. And it automates a lot of things and makes it, scale of efficiency. So
let's talk about a few implications for end users who don't use AutoElevate. What would those look like?
Well, I mean, in some cases, I don't think there's really any managed service provider that I'm aware of, at least I'll say in the right mind, that would say it's more secure giving users admin privileges. I mean, it's a reality that it's more secure locking everyone down.
Mm-hmm.
But even the strictest, by the book managed service provider, there are situations where there's certain line of business applications that require admin privileges to run. And so in those cases, or maybe there's an owner or someone that demands to have it. The problem with allowing even one person to have it or a handful of people to have it is that the endpoints are really the easiest way into the environment for malicious activity. Much more difficult to go directly to a server and breach a server, because you typically have a lot of other things built around and built into the server pieces to protect them. And the users are the weakest link. And when they have admin privileges on a machine, that is the easiest way to be compromised, is on a machine that has admin privileges. If a malicious process can get started there, it can work laterally into your network. So really all it takes is one or two machines. One machine is all it really takes, is at a location. If a malicious process can get started on a machine that has trust in a network, that has admin privileges, then all your security can be compromised, which is why you really have to, from a technical or security standpoint, have to have have everything locked down with no exceptions. But then again, from the business side of the equation, with what the users need and with what the owners want, that can be a much more difficult proposition. So, but from a security standpoint, very fundamental. I'd say it's equivalent to locking your doors, at your home. You can think about putting in a dragon moat and razor wire and security towers, and all those things will make your house more secure, putting all that stuff around your house. But you should really think about locking your doors first. I mean, the fundamental stuff, It's
like you're not going to give a key to your house to everybody, that you meet, or, giving your alarm code out to anyone who comes to your home. So yeah, it's definitely very important to, same concept, right? Just sure.
It's just like a fundamental thing that you need to start with those fundamentals, and definitely having a user run with standard privileges as opposed to admin privileges is just a fundamental basic thing that will make you inherently more secure. Now, is it the silver bullet? There is no silver bullet. There is no single thing that's like, if I do this one thing and buy this one product, do this particular thing, I will never be breached. That's not the case. But the layered approach to security is you should do the basic stuff, and taking away admin privileges is one of those fundamental basic things. You got to shut the doors and lock them. Have locks on the doors and lock it with it, and only give the key out to certain people. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about how once that's implemented, how AutoElevate reduces those ticket counts. What does that mean exactly?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate flip side of that equation, right? Is that you lock everything down. Mm-hmm. That means that then different things that the users used to be able to potentially do by themselves, now they get prompted where it requires an admin credential. The service provider has the admin credential, which means then every update that needs to be done, or everything that needs to be done for, they have to open a ticket for the service provider to have them do. So then it creates a lot of ticket volume in that regards.
Right.
So by having AutoElevate automate the elevation of those various things, it can reduce all those tickets. Even though you have everyone locked down, it can reduce the ticket volume off your board for those tickets. In some cases, we've done some use case studies with some of our partners. Some of them are saying it reduces ticket count by about 65%, which even surprised me. I was like, that's really a ton.
That's great.
So it's a significant problem, in that when you can automate getting rid of all the tickets that require different things with privileges, whether that be an update or updates in certain vertical applications, or install of certain things, or running of applications, or adjustment of certain settings, or things of that nature. definitely can offload a lot of volume off your technicians for sure by having those things automated.
What are some examples of some tickets that that are sent in, but that AutoElevate can certainly take care of? What would be an example?
Well, an example of that is, there are quite a few. There's a lot of vertical line of business applications that some of them require admin privileges to run, but many of them, even if they run with standard privileges, require a lot of updates that require admin privileges. And in some cases, these are networked applications where you can't just have one person that updates it. You have to have all 10 computers update simultaneously for them to run it. So an example of that would be some specifics, like in the accounting field, there's Lacert Accounting that requires admin privileges to run. And during tax season, when the accountants are doing tax returns and everything else, they might get 4 or 5 updates a day. Well,
right.
That means every time they got to call the managed service provider, and they have to have all those computers updated multiple times a day in their busiest time of the year, which doesn't go over real well with them because they're like, we just have to have admin privileges. We can't have this.
Right.
So that's an example. And QuickBooks updates is another example. UPS WorldShip is another application that gets constant updates that require admin privileges to update every time the shipping rates change.
Mm-hmm.
They get these updates that require adjustments that require admin privileges. So it just creates a lot of volume and noise, having to update those things all the time from the users. Users get frustrated with it as well. But at the same time, the folks down in the warehouse, aren't the people you probably want to have full admin privileges where they can do anything and everything they want to do. It's a dual-edged sword there.
So let's talk about the user experience and why it's critical.
Well, I mean, user experience is critical because at the end of the day, that is the determining factor whether they're going to be your client or not, right? If they're not happy with, if they perceive whatever their perception may not be correct, but if they're not happy, they're going to find another provider.
Right.
So user experience is critical. And, from the standpoint of, especially when kind of budgets get tight and they start examining their spend, which a lot of companies are doing right now, if they look at your part of the budget and say, well, for however many hundreds or thousands of dollars, for X thousands of dollars we spend on IT, I hear a lot of complaints all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should examine this expense and find a different provider that's cheaper and better, or do it ourselves, or what our alternatives are. Because I'm tired. It's one thing when we're doing great and we can just fly, but now when the budget gets tight, I'm going to examine, as a business owner, I'm going to examine everything with a lot more critical eye. So user experience, keeping your users feeling like they're productive and efficient and happy is super important, because if they're not happy with you, at some level, you're going to lose that account, whether to another provider or just for them to find a different way to do things.
Absolutely. And they don't want to take their time out to be managing something that their IT provider should be managing, or taking the time out of the day to ask, hey, what's going on with this and what's going on with that. So definitely it's got to be very important for your MSP.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, if I still had my managed service practice, I think this would definitely be something that I would sell against. And that,
mm-hmm.
Whereas you worry about keeping a good user experience for your existing clients, the opposite is true, which is this is a pretty common problem that is one of the few security things you can do that your users will really care about. And what I mean by that is that There are other security things, obviously, that have to happen, backups and firewalls and things like that. But when you're talking about your difference of your firewall or backup solution to an end user, they're just kind of taking your word for it. They don't really perceive the difference, right? They don't perceive how it's any different. They're just saying, well, if you say it's more secure, it's better. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to privilege, when it comes down to the difference of them having something happen automatically or them getting stopped and having to then call you and open a ticket and talk to somebody and get back and forth and have remote into your computer, or, you know, the difference between that experience from is huge. It's a security thing that they will take note of and will complain about. So right. It's a huge thing where, you know, again, it's a fundamental thing security wise you should be doing. It touches really directly on that user experience piece for users, because they definitely feel and perceive the difference between having AutoElevate and not having AutoElevate. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what was the question?
I think you answered it. Emily had a
rambling. At some point along that, I started noting to myself that I was rambling and going off on a tangent. So,
well, you're very passionate about what you have going on, and it's something to be passionate about. It's a very important subject, absolutely. And so with Emily, she actually said here that how can we implement AutoElevate midstream with our current customers, focusing on that user experience. And making sure that they don't feel like they've lost rights to download or do what they want, so that they have chosen to allow so that those that have chosen to allow admin privileges. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So how do you? I think what she's asking is, we already have users out there with admin privileges. How do you take it away without like them saying, "Hold on"?
Right. I know I messed up a little bit while I was trying to read the little tiny text that came through, but yes, I'm glad you understood me. Yeah. So how do you combat that?
The way I would frame this, you have to think about it, I think, a little differently, which is we have, without AutoElevate, you're thinking about it as standard privileges versus admin privileges. The reality is, with AutoElevate, you actually have admin privileges, but only for certain things that you've approved. So probably the way it needs to be framed, both for yourself and with your customer when you present it to them, is more along the lines of customer XYZ. Right now, your users have unlimited admin privileges. They can do anything, good or bad. And there's a lot that can go bad. Mm-hmm. Would you rather that they have unlimited admin privileges, or would you rather that they have limited admin privileges or standard privileges?
Right.
Or just standard privileges. Now, most owners would say, well, yeah, I don't want them to absolutely do anything, even if it's bad. We don't want that to happen. But yeah, if they could just have admin privileges for what they need, then that's what we need. Well, that's what you're providing with AutoElevate. You're automating the admin privileges for the things that they need. So you are giving them admin privileges, just not unlimited admin privileges. So it's a little different way to look at it, because again, we're changing kind of what everyone's used to of is it only all or nothing. We're saying it needs to be somewhere in between, where there's certain things acknowledged they should be able to do and should have admin privileges, just not unlimited, not unchecked.
Right. And I'm sure it could be worded in certain ways where they don't feel like they did something wrong, or they're not being trusted for some reason. So, you know, just being able to word it in a way that is sensitive.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of sensitivity around.
It all depends on the client, right?
Yeah.
Some clients need to be told no.
Yeah.
Others, I think all the managed service providers know their customers, and they're probably the reasons why they're concerned about it. But I mean, ultimately, the other thing too is you would want it, when you implement AutoElevate, run it in audit mode. That way you can see everything that's happening that is requiring privilege already. You can populate rules and make rules in advance of turning it on live. That way, when you do turn it on live, it's really going to not be too much. It's really not going to be a radically different user experience for them. It's everything that was working before still works. So it's just going to be, you know, and the things that then are new that you haven't set rules for, didn't know about. We have a mobile app and also notifications in Windows that happen where literally, I mean, it's the easiest ticket that your technicians can do. They literally puts all the information in front of them. They can make a decision on to allow it or not allow it and make a rule that applies to all of your clients or one company or one location. You can do that with a click of a button, and all the ticketing is automatic. So it's like the easiest ticket your technicians can do. It takes the 30-minute typical process down to like 30 seconds. So
wow. And I think that answers Emily's next question is, how much time does this save our knocks on the average for those that were dealing with all those tickets for permissions? So you just basically answered that question pretty much.
Yeah, we have a couple. So in our dashboard, we have a little stat that you'd have in your dashboard that is an ROI numbers and shows some of the stats of what's happening on the system when you go into our admin portal. And we track some of those numbers or get some of those numbers from our partners. But some of our partners, man, it's actually amazing the amount of time that is saved. I mean, they're automating so much with AutoElevate. I mean, granted, these are implementations with thousands of endpoints, you know, like 2,000 or 3,000 endpoints, but they're also, their ROI, like time savings, hours per month is like 400 and 500 hours per month, or
wow,
maybe even more than that. It's a lot, where it's just like, it's a significant difference in time savings of manually approving these things and doing it as opposed to automating them all. But usually the ROI, like the time savings and the ROI stuff, is like sort of like a slam dunk. It saves you tons and tons of time.
that's amazing. That's incredible. Earlier when we were talking, before we went live, you mentioned something to me, which was something called incremental subscriptions. What does that mean exactly? Because I've never heard that term before, and the MSP space.
I'm sure it exists. Maybe we're just referring to it in a different way. But incremental, yeah.
We're also talking about me, who's mostly involved with social media. So I'm a little naive when it comes to some things technical.
Yeah. So, I mean, the incremental billing, you know, when we started where you had to buy a block of agent licenses, and then you could use those however you wanted to amongst your clients. The problem with that is that, you know, and this was like a starting place for us as a company when we came to market 2 years ago, because that was easy, you know, and people understood. You buy it, 450 licenses, and you could distribute those however you wanted. The problem is that if you really only had 280 that you needed, you were oversubscribed. You're buying 450, and you really only need 283. So in this last month, what we've been working on the back end is all the things in place for our licensing and billing so that it could be incremental. In other words, so that it could charge for just one license at a time. So now, for our managed service provider partners, the minimum is 10 agents. So you can start out with as little as 10 agents, and you're billed for only the ones that are active in the last 30 days. So if you deploy agent 12, 13, 14, or 22, 28, 84, whatever, it's just billing you incrementally one time a month for all the additions or subtractions of what has happened, like all the net new licenses that have happened in the last 30 days for agents that are active. So that eliminates being oversubscribed. So you won't be oversubscribed within our new billing and licensing plans. It just makes it really a low bar of entry, in that you can start with 10 agents and then just deploy them out as you go. And you still will get progressive discounts on the licensing as you grow and deploy more, but just makes it real easy to get started. So.
One of the other things that I found very intriguing is that you mentioned that some of your clients were actually taking this one specific product from you and selling it by itself, as opposed to providing it in a package. You can actually take it out and utilize that specifically to their client. Tell me a little. Let's tell our viewers a little bit about that. How would they be able to benefit from that?
From selling our product.
Mm-hmm.
They make money.
And outside of the package is what I mean.
Well, I mean, I know that some managed service providers, you know, are really focused on the all-in contracts. I mean, I definitely was as well. Mm-hmm. But we actually get a fair number of leads of enterprise clients that have their own IT departments that want AutoElevate, because it's a need. Not just that managed service providers experience, it's a need that a lot of enterprise clients also have. That being said, we're channel only, so we have handed off a lot of leads to our partners and continue to do so, and we're looking to even expand that for partners that want to sell it as just a product. Now, in saying that, you know, if I handed you a lead, Brandi, to pursue there in Bakersfield of an enterprise that wanted AutoElevate, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't like investigate and sell them other things. You absolutely should, but it gives you a foot in the door of something that they're specifically asking for. You know, they're security focused and have some need for security. So in those cases, our partners are taking those leads, selling AutoElevate as a standalone product with really good margin and markup on it, and you know, gives them opportunity to then talk about managed backups and firewalls and wireless and projects and systems and HAAS and other things along the way as you build that relationship and learn what the needs are in the IT department and the staff that you're working with, downstream IT things, other things that you can do. Right. But we have some partners that pretty much are killing it, just selling it as a standalone product in an enterprise. I mean, we have, I had a partner the other day tell me that he had taken one of the leads that we had passed on, and he's making like $1,200 a month just on that one client, selling the software into the enterprise from the lead that we passed to him. So that was great. And we would love to see more of that, but yeah, now, those of you watching, I can't promise those same results. I'm just kidding.
Well, and I would assume, you know, thinking about from a marketing standpoint, you can do so much with that. You know, build some campaigns around it, put an offering in it within your Facebook services page, you know, post an offering within your Google business page. There's so much around that. And we can definitely get into that later after our call. Actually, Emily and I are going to be going live and talking about marketing. So we'll be able to touch on that specific later. Yeah,
and actually, you know, I mean, that's the thing is that we've made it so that it's white labeled. I mean, if it's coming the other way around, which in other words, if it's not someone that found us and we're handing to you, if it's one of your existing clients or people that you're marketing, we would suggest you're not selling AutoElevate. You're selling an end result, and you can sell them your solution, your product, and brand it. I would suggest that you brand it and sell it as your solution, you know, and not necessarily AutoElevate unless you really want to. I personally, coming from my background as a managed service provider, I'm not sure the really advantage of that or not. I always tried to make everything our little solutions and bundles and branded everything, you know.
Because you don't want them to bypass you or go somewhere else. So absolutely it needs to be white labeled 100%.
Right. But you know, from that standpoint, we are definitely channel only. Because we have had that, you know, I mean, we've had it where a managed service provider, you know, pitched it, and then the end user then directly called us and say, how much does it cost for this? And we're like, let's give you our partner. And they're like, oh yeah, we already talked to them. That's why we're calling you for pricing. But we don't give that out to, you know, we vet everyone out as being managed service providers and legit managed service providers. We don't give pricing out or deal with end users, enterprises, government agencies, or anyone else, just managed service providers.
Well, that's definitely a positive for working with you. Absolutely.
We from our perspective would say there's a huge opportunity there for you guys to go out, because again, those enterprise IT departments that have their own staff, and maybe they're supporting 2 or 3 or 500 endpoints, and they've got their own internal staff of 3 or 4 guys. They have all the same problems that you have with the same issue, which is their users internally complain about having to wait for things that they need to do, or line of business application. All the same issues come into play. And the nice thing is that the enterprises typically have no problem. The enterprise tools that do different elevation things are much, much more expensive. So you can competitively make really nice margin, and we have managed service providers that are displacing and beating enterprise products on features and price because of that. So there's an opportunity there for real, Brandi.
Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned pricing, because one of the things that caught my attention during our conversation was 10 agents for the cost of lunch. And we've got some special pricing going on for all of the Chartec viewers here. And of course, anyone who's going to be registered and attending or viewing the upcoming Chartec Academy. Talk about that a little bit. I know you can't go into specifics, but let's see, what does that mean? What does that mean exactly? 10 agents for the cost of lunch. I mean, I could, I have some numbers in my head.
It's affordable, Brandi.
Affordable.
It's not even expensive. It's not an expensive lunch, but I would say, again, if you have, I know the strictest managed service providers, myself included when I was doing it, have at least a handful of problem children out there, clients and machines that they have had to allow, they've had to compromise and say, all right, we'll give it to you, but I don't like it,
Mm-hmm.
So that is a risk. That's a security hole out there that exists. Like, for such a small amount of money, you can go put an AutoElevate agent on those systems, make a few rules, reduce the privilege down to standard, and fix that problem.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
If you have, if you have one computer per client that has admin privileges, you have a hole that needs to be plugged. It's super easy to, instead of giving them unlimited admin privileges, to give them just admin privileges for what they need, and put it on there and plug that hole. Now, granted, we would love to see you put it on all your computers across your whole stack and reduce the ticket volume so you're not getting all those other tickets. And, we do some password rotation and things with technician and capturing time on your tickets and other things that I'm sure you'll love. But go, take your handful of 10 or 20 machines, or however many machines you have out there that in the back of your mind you're worried about, and go fix the problem on those machines at least, and improve the security of your practice and those clients, and so you don't have to worry about it.
Now, you're offering a 14-day free trial, which I'm going to go ahead and put the link. If the link's not already in there, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the comments. But during our upcoming virtual academy, you're going to be doing a demo as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I definitely will.
Okay, wonderful. So, hey, everyone, if you haven't, everyone who's watching or will be watching, don't forget to register for the upcoming Virtual Academy, September 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's 3 days. It's no cost to all MSPs and break fix. There's nothing to lose. Come in here, register, watch us. We've got AutoElevate, we've got sales, we've got marketing, operations. We've got other sponsors where it's going to be amazing. And I don't know if you remember, Todd, but last time we actually gave away the grand prize was the passport prize winner, which I would say was the winner of a 2-day trip on the protocol in Cabo San Lucas. So we've got some really, really fun stuff happening this time around, more creativity, more engagement prizes. So go to chartec.net/virtual-academy, register. Let's see you there. It's at no cost to you. You'll see Todd doing his demo. I'm going to post the link for the 14-day trial, and you'll get to see what that cost of lunch pricing is. And then, of course, Todd, you're on here. I'm going to tag you on here as soon as we're done. And if you have any questions at all for Todd, please feel free to go to the thread and ask him directly. He will be available to you. Are you excited for the upcoming Academy, Todd?
I am. I wasn't until you went through that whole spiel, but now after that, I feel pretty excited.
I could tell. I
know. I went from like excitement of 3 to now I'm like 9.6.
Wonderful. Well, good. I'm glad I did my job then.
Yeah, that was pretty hype. Thanks, Brandi.
Very good. Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Obviously, the video is going to be on for a while, and let us know if you have any questions at all. You could email membership@chartec.net for any more information as well. Todd, it was so good to see you again, and I can't wait to see you again during Academy.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Me too. Other way around. You know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful. Well, stay safe over there in Puerto Rico. I'll stay safe over here in good old Bakersfield, and then we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Brandi.
All right. Thank you. See you guys later.
All right. Bye.